Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is another in my series of comic-related videos on investing in comics that are of a low grade. Most times when people invest in comics, they're investing in the high-grade comics. Well, I'm going to show you through this series how to invest in low-grade comics. The comic that I'm going to be looking at in this video is kind of one that's a bit cool. And when I'm saying cool, I mean not cool in the cool way, like cool and stylish or whatever. I mean cool in terms of it's cooled down in terms of its market. And the reason I say that is the movie that featured it hasn't been out for a while, and that is Avengers #1. Now, the last Avengers movie was, with Endgame, and it's sort of the heat on this comic has, kind of dwindled a bit. It's still a hot comic. It's not like, all of a sudden people are not going to want this comic. So it is an established blue chip, and it is a kind of a cool comic to have. It is the first appearance of the team of Avengers, and it features all the major Avengers: Thor and Hulk and Iron Man and Ant-Man, and even has Loki. So a whole bunch of major characters, and it's an established blue chip comic, and it's a low grade. So it has all the trappings of a low grade. It has like the mangled spine. It has the bent corners. It is low grade, and it has like all the Marvel chipping along the side. You can see that. So, it still presents well. It's a nice, like, I'm happy with it personally, but it is a low grade. These low grades are entry level comics, and this is no exception to that. It's 2.5, fairly low grade. So in this grade, I believe I paid actually a fair amount for this, even though it's a low grade. And I won't try to guess at how much I paid. I forget what I paid for this, but I think it was around that $900 mark is my guess. I believe that's how much I paid. So it's still a pricey book, even in that low grade. So, but how well does this low grade Avengers book perform and higher grades? And I really would like to show that comparison, especially when the recent movie of it is kind of getting a little bit further away. So it's one of those ones where it is kind of cooling down. So let's take a look at it. So I'm going to switch screens. And here it is, Avengers #1, first appearance of the Avengers, origin of the Avengers. So you'll notice the high grades. There is no 9.8 on the census, so this is just an estimate. 9.6, you'll see, goes for quite a bit. There hasn't been any recent sales of these high grades, so we don't really know how much, if they went to market right now, they would go for. I imagine there would be some growth in the number. But let's take a look at this low grade. So it's a 2.5. It has, you'll notice that there's a lot of recent sales in these low grades because there's just more of them, and there's more demand. People want to get into that entry level book, and you'll get more sales happening where people will try to get that book. So you'll notice that it goes for 2,200. I think I paid around 900. I might be wrong in that. I might be mistaken. I have to check my thing, but I believe I paid around 900 last year. So obviously I did well on the investment. But let's dive deeper and see how these numbers have really grown over the time. So let's dive deeper. I'm going to kind of, click over here. So we see this is the sales trend. Okay, so we can see some of the low grades have gone down, and you see that sometimes. We actually see on eBay there's a listing right now for a 2.0, which is a lower grade, for 3,000. So these fair market values, and eBay usually don't correlate very well, because eBay, they'll try to get much higher price. Usually it doesn't sell for that high price, but sometimes. Um, but you'll notice like the growth is fairly good, like 49%, 50%, 10%. So a little bit of growth for the two. Um, and you'll notice even up to the 4 or 5, fairly good growth in terms of the price. And then it'll just sort of stop because there's just no sales. Um, Generally, with these lower grade comics, there's a few advantages that I kind of wanted to express. One of the big advantages is there's a bigger market. So if you're trying to flip books or just trying to get in and out of a comic, what you can do is, by buying one of these, you can leverage the fact that there's a bigger market for them. There's more people that are able to afford a low grade than a high grade. And it's just the way it is. It's much easier to afford $1,000 book than a $200,000 book. So you can sort of get in and out of that investment much quicker. And that's actually a really important investment thing to know, that you can how liquid is your money is one of those things, an investment term, that you want to be able to get your money out of that investment as easily as possible. And these low grades have that because there's just a bigger demand for them, and the price point is much lower, so it's easier to flip. With that being said, you can see that there's a fair amount of growth. And a lot of this growth is kind of fueled from recent activity within the market. The comic market is a little bit hot right now, but I shouldn't say a little bit hot, it's incredibly hot. So you're seeing these kind of comics really spiking. And again, that's another reason why these low grades are actually a pretty good investment. Because what happens is, as a whole bunch of people enter the market, well, they're trying to pick up comics here and there, but they don't necessarily have big money to put into comics. And the ones that have big money to put into a comic, they're buying those 9/8 or high grade ones, and they're not speculating. They're looking at it in a very serious way, because it's big money, and there's not that volatility that you'd see. It's going to be like established buyers, and it's going to be much more a slower process, where they're not just getting all excited and going into the hype and then paying crazy prices for things. Whereas the low grades have much more of that hype and a bit of volatility in the price, where it can really jump up. But at the same time, these with established keys, you get that stability of that comic that people really want. It's surprising to see this 1/5 having lost that much value, but you would have to look at this sales thing. So I'd have to sign in. I don't have access to the thing. So you could see that there was 7 sales. There was a lot of activity. It could have been that there was a few overpays in the past, and it just kind of killed the price. Or it could have been that a lot of these sales were around the movie, when the movie came out, when there was a bit of a spike, a bit of a high, and people bought at the wrong time and just overpaid. Again, you never really want to buy during a spike. You don't want to buy at the highest point in the market, because generally with any kind of investment, you'll get that fluctuation where it kind of goes up and then down, up, then down, and so forth. And it gradually will have an upward trend if it's an established key. Comics are no different. They will generally have that trend where there's ups and downs, and you want to buy on the downs rather than ups. So generally, right now is a good time to invest in a comic like Avengers #1, because we're out of that movie speculation time. And the comic is a bit cooler, still a hot book in terms of people really want that book, but it doesn't have that extra heat of a movie having just come out or coming out. So this is one of those ones where it's potentially a good time to buy. So with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my others in the series. I try to give little different tidbits in each video. And don't forget to subscribe and like and comment. I'd love to hear your feedback of these videos. Do you like these investment videos? And give me your feedback. Thanks for watching. Bye.